Hello, Tech Pros, episode 104.
Get away from Netflix, get away from all the social media, get some real experience. Go out there, engage with people, get out of your level zero that you think is unconquerable.
Welcome to the podcast where I chat with professionals who are getting the job done using technology 7 days a week. Each week, we start with Motivation Monday. Tuesday is about productivity, Wednesday, leadership, Thursday, technology, Friday, people and communication, Saturday, entrepreneurship, and Sunday, being unplugged. All right, let's get started. Hello, Tech Pros. This is Chad Bostic, and I'm excited to introduce our featured guest today, Rajiv Menon. Happy Saturday, Rajiv.
Hey, Chad. Nice to be on with you. Hey, everybody out there in the Tech Pros world.
Awesome. Are you fired up and ready to give us your startup story today?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Awesome. Let's do it. Rajiv Menon is an entrepreneur, consultant, and mentor. He's the founder and solution architect at Informulate, a unique software services consultancy that employs lean startup and agile methodologies, launched in 2006. He launched talentforstartups.org, a free not-for-profit portal for startup founders to collaborate with students and professionals in 2014. He is committed to the lean and agile methodologies. Rajiv is the founding organizer of the Orlando-based Lean Startup Practitioners Group. He's a mentor through workshops, events, and accelerators, notably Venture Scale Up, WeVenture, and Lean Startup Machine. So speaking of lean startup machines, Rajiv, you are a machine starting all these different companies and organizations and being involved with everything here in Orlando.
Well, I try to be. My focus is mainly on impact. So sometimes that impact comes through for-profit, sometimes it comes through mentorship, and sometimes it comes through nonprofit. So wherever that takes me, I follow it.
You know, I love that response because it's that not just the action, it's not just the process, but you're really talking about making an impact and changing the world, changing businesses, changing people's lives, and actually seeing results at the end of it.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of people think that to make impact, you personally have to be leading everything and you have to have all these people follow you personally and make all these big decisions. But I believe that you have to empower other people. And there's a lot you could do by yourself, but there's a lot more you can do if you empower others.
That's so awesome. And I want to hear a lot more throughout this discussion. So today's Entrepreneurship Saturday on Hello Tech Pros, and we're all about either working on our side hustles on the weekend or starting our businesses from scratch. But I want to hear your startup story, Rajiv. So let's take it back to maybe 2006 or before, and how you came up with the idea to start Informulate. What was that process like?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll just back it up a little bit more, and because my story is actually very different. I was very late into entrepreneurship. I was not the person that you see before you today. I was not that motivated. I didn't know what my life was going towards. I was in India for the first 25 years of my life. So I was born and brought up and educated there. I've been here for 16 years, so you can do the math there. And for me, the education system there was not very friendly. It wasn't what I was, it wasn't very good to me personally. I did okay, but it wasn't good to me. And when I graduated, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Spent a few years working in my dad's business. You would think I would have picked up some entrepreneurial DNA, but at the time, if you asked me, I would have sworn I had none of it in me. And then just kind of because all my friends were writing these entrance exams to go into the United States, I thought, hey, why not? Let's give it a shot. And surprisingly, I did pretty well on the test. And lo and behold, I had a scholarship and someone willing to pay me to come to the United States to do a master's. And I did. So I came to the U.S. in 99 and graduated from the University of Toledo right at the time of the dot-com crash. So I stayed around and did a second master's because there was nothing else I could do. There were no jobs around. And that kind of just, but the thing that really changed for me was when I came to the U.S. and saw a really different entrepreneurial mindset amongst all the people around me and the amount of energy that they had, and even the education system here, which a lot of people complain about, but it's actually a whole lot better than other places in the world. And it really challenged me with internships and other opportunities. And I really felt myself responding to software development, and especially because software development is applicable to any business, right? Any organization needs software. It was an opportunity to get into a lot of different businesses and understand how they work. So that really started the journey for me. Even then, I wouldn't call myself entrepreneurial. I just kind of followed the path there, did the best I could, worked my way up from a developer to architect to manager. Worked at a bunch of Fortune 500 projects and companies with Fiserv and US Bank, Capital One. Actually led a team that developed the largest mobile banking application of the time for US Bank with millions of users. So got a decent amount of experience. And then I really started seeing a lot of the things that entrepreneurs pick up on, which is inefficiencies and better ways of doing things, and best practices not being followed. And I really felt I could do my own thing. So we started doing something on the side with two of my friends, and that was about 10 or 11 years ago. And slowly that picked up. So we started off 10 years ago with Informulate as a custom software development shop. Just doing some side hustle, like you just said, putting some projects together for small companies and startups. And within a year or two, my partners dropped off, so it was just me, and I just kept going. And I didn't really get a lot of traction that I was able to switch from my regular job to Informulate, but it was part of the process for me was just to keep persisting with that experience to learn as much as I could from it. And just the interactions with different people, the kind of problems they're trying to solve, really recognized that entrepreneurship is a big, challenging deal. And because I'm not a natural entrepreneur, because I'm not a natural risk taker, I didn't switch and just focus on my business full time. So I kept that going for a few years with the work, full-time job, and the business. And soon I really started getting into it, and I started understanding what customers want, how they deliver value, and most importantly, how well they understand their customers, which is really the key to entrepreneurship, is your understanding of your end customer. And once I started picking those up, I made the switch. The company started doing well and focused on it full time. And then we've also innovated what we do. So we are no longer just software services or software development. We've branched out into agile methodology and consulting. And in the last 3 years, we're heavily into lean startup consulting, which is really the science and methodology of figuring out what you should build and why you should build it, rather than how you should build. So that's kind of been the journey. Sorry for the long answer there.
No, that's awesome. I really appreciate that long answer, Rajiv, because I've had a lot of very young professionals, very young entrepreneurs come on the show, and they're so inspirational and they have so much energy, and they're like, oh yeah, I started building apps and selling them on the App Store when I was 13 years old, and I did all this stuff by the time I was 18 or 22. And thinking back to my life when I was 13 and 18 and 22, I tinkered around with technology, but dude, I was not working. I was not hustling. I was not starting businesses. I certainly wasn't, making a name for myself anywhere. And I resonate with your story, Rajiv, because I have a very similar story. Now, my education background is different, but once I got into the corporate world, it was in software development, and it was just as a contract developer. Hey, just here for 6 months or so. And then that led into a 5-year gig at a startup, and then a 13-year career at a Fortune 100 company, and moving up the chain, up that corporate ladder, from junior software developer to senior to technical lead into the manager roles, and then leading a whole bunch of different teams on mobile development and big data and analytics and geospatial mapping, and all the cool stuff that's really, really fun. And I didn't really get into like full-time entrepreneur stuff until this year, until 2016. So I'm even later than you, but I appreciate that story because it shows that, there's never too late. There's never a wrong time. And there's not necessarily like, oh, well, you have passed the point of potentially being an entrepreneur. Like if you didn't do the startup stuff when you're 22 or 25 or 27, and now that you're like quote unquote an adult and you're grown up and you're, a different stage in life than some of the other younger people are, it's not too late.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that's probably a good segue into talent for startups and why I built that. Yeah, do you want to get into that a little bit?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, let's do it, man.
Yeah, so for me, as we did various projects with Informulate and we worked with some startups, and of course, as you know, with startups, not all of them have a lot of money. We soon found that, there was some really cool ideas that we would love to work on, but they just didn't have the funding and we didn't have the time. Also, at the time, we started getting into some of these really cool events that are out there, Startup Weekend, Lean Startup Machine, and the whole host of others that are, the entrepreneurial weekend stuff. And we realized there's so much energy in that group, right?
Mhm.
There's people that are really putting themselves out there. They've got this really cool idea. They're super passionate about it. And what happens after the weekend? Usually nothing. People kind of go their separate ways. They don't have a team anymore. They can't pursue their idea. And we call that the level zero problem, which is, startup founders have an idea. They want to build something. They need funding in order to build their product, and they cannot get the funding because they don't have a product to show. So that's kind of a vicious cycle for them. And then for other people, like professionals like yourself and me, who want to get into a startup, and we don't have the experience necessarily in a certain area, like let's say big data. I want to get experience in that, but I can't get experience because I don't have a job in big data. So that's the level zero problem on the other side. So what we created with Talent for Startups is a matchmaking platform where these two groups who are stuck in level zero can get to level one.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So you're basically kind of a broker matchmaker that's saying, okay, here's a lot of different people with a lot of different skill sets, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different experiences. And here are other people who are trying to start businesses that need certain aspects, right? And so you're just kind of matching them up, pairing them up, and so they can build successful businesses together.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's our first MVP, if you will, that's currently live and it's been live for a year. And we've got a pretty ambitious roadmap. If you want, I can dive into that as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about what that goal is for Talent for Startups. Like, who specifically are you serving, and what kind of impact do you want to make?
Absolutely. So, like I said, there's a lot of services and investors and mentors for people who make it in a sense that they're good enough that they get into an accelerator or they have some other program that supports them. But for a lot of people who are at that level zero, they don't have any support system and they're pretty much lone wolves and they're trying to figure this stuff out. So, what we want Talent for Startups to be is the first place you go to when you think startup. So, if you're a person who wants to work for a startup or you have a startup idea yourself, here's a place where you can actually go even before you have a website. You can create a profile that's SEO friendly, that actually could be your first home, that you can actually tell people, here's my idea, here's what I want to build, and here's the URL to it. Come and join my team if you'd like. And that's really the first thing that we want to do. Past that, a startup needs a lot of things. It's like, it takes a village to build a
Mm.
startup. And that's why you have the accelerators and other things that are available in the world. But there's a limited capacity for accelerators. They can't take everybody just by the nature of it. And it really needs a lot of work to cultivate a startup. So what I want to do with Talent for Startups is to provide that support system. So we want to add in future iterations, we want to add mentors, we want to add a knowledge base of resources, we want to add events, investors, all of the things, and local labs and services and SBDCs and accelerators, online content, all of this stuff into a tagged database so that when you come in and you describe yourself and what you're interested in, let's say big data or 3D printing or whatever it is, because you've described yourself accurately, you will now have all this filtered content specifically for you that says, here are the mentors in 3D printing, here are the investors who are interested in that space, here are the events that are going on this week or next month. And all these other resources just come to you, so you're not having to go navigate the whole ecosystem to figure out what you need to be successful.
So, Rajiv, I'm going to tell you about a problem that I've had in the past, and I know there's a lot of other technical professionals that may be dealing with this and may not understand that it is a problem. So, I have struggled with trust issues in the past. Like, I've got this idea, I want to work on this startup. I think it's going to be amazing product to build or service to provide, but I'm scared of publishing that information publicly right? Or trying to find a team of people to work on it and pitching my idea to people until I actually have something to sell. And so what I would do in the past is just kind of work on it in a vacuum, like in the dead of night, behind closed doors, in my home office where nobody else can get access to it and see it, or go out to my friend and say, "Hey, Rajiv, I'm working on this awesome thing. Like, I trust you, man. Can you keep it secret? Like, let's work on it together." And in my case, none of those things ever materialized and turned into a successful business because it just kind of fell apart. So what would you say to people who would say, "Man, I would love to work in a startup, but I'm kind of afraid of posting my ideas publicly on Talent for Startups or any other kind of public forum to say, hey, here's my idea, here's what I want to work on," because you're afraid of people stealing it?
That is a great question, and I get that all the time. And to be politically correct, I would really want to shake people up on that sense, because I wouldn't want to use the real language I want to use here, because it's a big world, and if you think you have this unique idea that nobody else has, you're mistaken. A lot of people probably have ideas in that space, and in the end, it's about two things: speed and execution. So if you're able to execute better than others and you're able to execute it faster than others, that's the only thing that distinguishes it. Because at some point, whatever point that is, you need to take it to the world. And at that point, people are going to notice. And if you get there after traction and you're trying to now get all this visibility, it's actually going to make it harder for you. Whereas if you've actually put yourself out there and you've started building that base, and people won't compete with you yet because they don't necessarily have the time and energy, first of all, to compete with you when they've got a million other things. Everybody's busy. Nobody's sitting around waiting for your idea to come up so they can jump on it. You just have to build that base up so that when you are ready to press into the next gear, you already have that support. You have some visibility. You have friends in the community. You have other people who are willing to support you to move faster. So for a variety of different reasons, I could go into all kinds of reasons why you shouldn't hold on to your own idea by yourself and protect it like it's a child, because there's confirmation bias, all kinds of confirmation biases that are in play when you do not bring yourself out to the world. And that is your biggest enemy, especially for single founder startups. Confirmation bias is your single biggest enemy.
Man, that's so awesome to hear and validate that, because I hear it from a lot of people, but you're down in the trenches, you're working with a lot of startups, you're doing it yourself, and that's something I think there's a lot of people on here that need to learn, and I'm still in the process of getting past that. I just launched this business, Hello Tech Pros, this year, and it was a decision that a very, very honest, open decision that I'm not going to do this in a vacuum. Like, I'm not going to just think about podcasting or technical consultancy or whatever and not tell anybody. I'm going to tell the world, and I'm going to start tweeting about it, and I'm going to email all my friends, and I'm going to get other people on the show, and we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and technology and startups and business and our careers, and then the products and the things and the services to sell will come after the fact. But we're going to start with, let's get public and let's start having a conversation, and then the rest will follow.
Exactly. And I think a lot of that comes from insecurity. People aren't confident that they can move fast enough, that they don't feel they can manage a team or grow fast enough. So all of those insecurities come into play, and your decision is made not based on facts, but based on your insecurity. And that's the most dangerous thing for a single founder startup.
Man, it hurts, but it's the truth. And sometimes we need to show a little tough love to our friends and neighbors and colleagues who want to start a business, because you're right, man. Nobody is just sitting around waiting, like has tons and tons of time on their hand saying, if I only had a great idea, I would put in like 80 to 120 hours a week to execute on that idea if just there was some idea that I could steal, right? Yeah. No, nobody has that.
Exactly. And you can look at the statistics. You think people are great at spotting ideas and turning them into huge businesses, then, everybody would be a venture capitalist, right? Right. You look at the venture capital success rates, even for funded capital, funded startups. you're seeing 20% or so success. So people who've been in the industry for decades and who have tens of millions of dollars to spend have a 20% success rate. You think they're going to drop everything and jump on your idea when they have so many ideas coming to them every week? That's just you got to get past that.
All right, Rajiv. Well, the first step in starting a startup now is to go to talentforstartups.org and put in a profile. We know that. We got that. We're going to start working on that. In just a moment, I want to ask you about what are the second and third and fourth steps that we need to be planning on and thinking about when we want to take our passion project or our big idea and turn it into a successful business. But first, we're going to take a quick break and thank our sponsors. This episode of Hello Tech Pros is sponsored by Burdine. Siri and OK Google are fun for party tricks, but 97% of smartphone users don't like talking to their phones in public. It's kind of weird. When was the last time you were at the mall and heard someone say, "Siri, what's my wife's dress size?" Or, "OK Google, where did I park my car?" Some things are better left unspoken. Burdine remembers the things you care about and reminds you discreetly through text messages. Names, dates, places, ideas, to-do lists. Burdine never forgets and is always there to remind you. You don't need to install an app, just text Burdine a statement and she'll remember. Text her a question and she'll answer. Burdine is the only contact you have to have on your phone. Meet Burdine at burdine.com. That's BURDENE.com or text Burdine to 480-418-1411. Outside the U.S., be sure to use the country code +1. So for non-U.S. residents, text +1 480-418-1411 with a message Burdine. Okay, we're back with Rajiv Menon. He's the founder and solution architect at Informulate, where he's doing software services and lean startup and agile methodology consultancy. And he's also the founder of talentforstartups.org. And we've been talking to Rajiv about why it's so important for founders to put their ideas out there publicly, create a public profile on something like talentforstartups.org and say, hey, you know what? Here are my skill sets. Here are all the attributes and experience and the metadata about me that makes me a unique startup founder or contributor. And here's my idea, and look for other people to join in that idea and resonate with it and be part of it. So Rajiv, that's step one. What are the next steps that we need to be thinking about?
Yeah, if you're looking at a startup founder, it's a long journey. The first step is, of course, putting yourself out there. And if you do that to Talent for Startups, you're hopefully going to find connections pretty quickly. You can look at other people's profile, filter by your keywords, and invite them to your project. Once you have them, you go through the usual process of vetting them, interviewing them, whatever you want. Form your team and get started. Now, you need a lot of obviously specialized knowledge in what you're doing. But the first thing I would ask you to do before you start your startup or even put yourself out there is read The Lean Startup. The Lean Startup is a book by Eric Ries, which was published, I think, about 5 years ago. He just had the Leader's Guide, which came out last month. It is a brilliant book, and it has completely changed the face of startups, innovation, product development, everything from startups all the way to a large company like GE, to nonprofits, even to government organizations, and nonprofits like Kiva are using it as well. So first thing I would do is read the book. And if you're in the Orlando area or whichever metro area you're in, join the local meetup, the Lean Startup Meetup. That is really where you need to be. You could go to small business groups and you could go to other groups, but having a process to help you along the way is absolutely invaluable, because there's a million ways. I say this to all my founders all the time. There's a million ways of doing something wrong. There's only a handful of ways that you can do it right.
Yeah, it's like so many stories we hear about, inventing the light bulb or inventing new parts of cars and stuff like that. And they're like, you know what? It's not about doing it right the first time. It's about experimentation. It's about trial and error. It's about the process of really taking it like the scientific method and just trying, you have a hypothesis, you put an experiment together, you try it out, you see if it works or not, and then you learn something from it. It's probably going to fail the first time around, and then you try it again.
Exactly. That's the essence of the lean startup methodology. And people think of it as brand new and revolutionary. The scientific method's been there for 2,000 plus years. That's what science is based on, and that's how we've got as far as we have. So what I love about the lean startup is how it brings together, because of this basic understanding of science and how that applies to entrepreneurship. It basically brings all of these different principles under its umbrella, and you know exactly when to use what, because you've got this overarching business management philosophy. It includes Agile, it includes Six Sigma, it includes KPI, key performance indicators, and a whole host of other things under one umbrella. But the key thing is knowing how to focus on your biggest risk. That is the single most important thing, because with a business, you could be doing any second, you could be doing a dozen different things that need to be done, and hundreds of things that could be done, and thousands of things that theoretically could be done. How do you focus your attention on the first thing that is the most important thing, that's the biggest risk to your business right now? And the lean startup methodology and the tools that it has. And by the way, it's not a standalone book. There's dozens of books that build on the basic philosophy there and have specific applications to analytics, to UX, to marketing, and every discipline you can think of. Culture and HR and everything that you can think of is covered there. But you want to start with the core. You want to have a basic understanding of how you're going to approach the concept of creating a business from an idea.
So there's, to your point, right, there's thousands of things you could be working on. And I see so many people get distracted by the shiny object syndrome, right? There's so many things that I could be working on. I got to do social media, and then I got to build my product, and I got to switch platforms and pick a new technology. And then, oh yeah, there's this new Periscope thing. Oh wait, but Periscope was old news. Now I got to get on something. And you're just constantly like, all this energy being wasted or being spent in all these different directions instead of focusing on the one thing, like you said, the critical thing that's going to drive your business forward. So give us that summary of what's a really great process to narrow it down and identify what is that number one thing that we should be focusing on?
So the only currency for entrepreneurship is the customer, understanding the customer, understanding their needs at a level and a level of detail that your competitors don't understand their behavior, right? So understanding why customers buy, what is their problem, and being very, very problem focused before you get to the solution stage. If you start with an idea, and usually most founders start that way, right? Hey, I have this idea. I think it'd be great if we had Uber for pets or something. And that's the solution, right? So you need to, when you get an idea, you need to work backwards to the problem and then ignore your solution. Don't fall in love with the solution. Fall in love with the problem. And that's the single most important thing. So if you understand your customer behavior better than your competitors, you're going to be successful.
Don't fall in love with the solution, fall in love with the problem. I see this, Rajiv, in both startups as well as enterprise, working for Fortune 500s, Fortune 100s. So many times I saw both in the business side and in the IT side, someone would come in with a solution, a new product, a new procedure, a new process or whatever, and say, we need to do this. It's like, okay, why? Well, because it's awesome. Look at all the bells and whistles it's got, and it's free or it's half price. Act now, and we'll double the amount of work that we have to do to implement it or whatever. And we really weren't focusing on the problem. It's like the problem was kind of like, yeah, we're going to solve lots of stuff. We're going to save some money. We're going to improve some productivity, but it's really about putting this solution in place. And what I hear you saying is we really need to backtrack and go back to fall in love with the problem. Like, what's the critical thing that's hindering our business right now or hindering our customers right now that we need to move that block out of the way, move that obstacle out of the way to help them be more successful?
Absolutely. You got it. Yeah, that's exactly what you should do. And that's where the pivots come in. So once you understand what the core problems are for your customer, then you can run experiments to see if that's really the most important problem, or whether there's a problem that's even more important to them that they need fixed first before you go to this problem. And as you iterate through the problem list with quick experiments, and the speed that you learn, of course, like I said, is critical. That helps you stay ahead of your competition. Not, of course, you need to build your product and ship it and have quality and all of that. But if you're building the wrong thing, you just spend a whole lot of time wasted and on an effort that is not going to turn the results forward. So important thing is always start with the customer and the problem.
Awesome. Great stuff. Rajiv, we're just about out of time. So before we go, could you share any parting words of wisdom for our audience? The best way that we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Great. Thanks, Chad. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. All the best to everybody listening. If you need to reach out to me, I love helping startups. I love the whole startup world. I have a whole a lot of ways that we could help each other, connecting you with our resources like Talent for Startups, Lean Startup Orlando, and my own software consulting at Informulate. You can reach me at RAJTV, Raj TV on Twitter, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Rajiv Menon. The company's name is Informulate. All the best to all of you guys, and try to stay away from the weapons of mass destruction. That's my only piece of parting advice is get away from Netflix, get away from all the social media, get some real experience. Go out there, engage with people, get out of your level 0 that you think is unconquerable. All the best.
Rajiv, thank you so much for joining me on Hello Tech Pros today. I really value your insight, your wisdom, and your experience, and appreciate you taking time out of your busy Saturday to spend time with us.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Chad. Take care.
Tech Pros, remember what Rajiv is saying here, man. It's you got to get that experience, and if you don't have it, the best way to get it is just to do it. You're not gonna have more than likely the perfect solution or the perfect product or the perfect service to offer your customers right out of the bat. The only way that you're going to get to perfection is to iterate on something. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Don't worry about the solution. Worry about the customers and what problems they have. Fall in love with what is the thing that they're struggling with that you can help and you can add value based off of your experience, and go out there and get it. Crush it. You've been listening to Rajiv Menon, and I'm Chad Bostic. And until next time, take care. The show notes page for this episode can be found at hellotechpros.com/104. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, subscribe to this channel, and check back tomorrow. This has been Entrepreneurship Saturday, but tomorrow my featured guest and I will not be talking about work because it's Sunday being unplugged. On Monday, we'll get motivated once again to face the week with Motivation Monday, followed by Tuesday, productivity, Wednesday, leadership, Thursday, technology, Friday, people communication, and Saturday, back to our entrepreneurship. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.